the fight always fun. I remember arguing with the. I remember what I would do. I would People would leave those nasty comments on that Bigfoot video. 9 times out of 10, if someone comes and leaves a stupid comment, I'm gonna say something back.
Okay.
Unless it's silly, like, this was stupid.
Hmm.
Then I'll just say like, well, thanks for watching. Like the one guy said that I should kill myself, and then I just put, well, yeah, that was my next project.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Uh, there was a bunch of nasty ones on that Bigfoot video. Most of them were about you though, so I didn't respond to those.
You didn't
John,
defend my honor.
yeah, you're gonna survive the zombie apocalypse, and you can't even respond to a negative comment.
What? They were funny.
What I love is the sheer amount of people that I know clicked on it, thinking they were gonna see some Bigfoot shit.
You pissed off so many people.
30,000 views that video has. And every now and then, for the fun of it, I'll go and update the year. So
What do you wait a
I'll
minute, what do you mean?
in the title. So I'll put. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comic books for people that maybe thinking about getting into the hobby, getting into collecting comic books, reading comic books. Where do you start, Joe? Where do you begin?
Yeah, I just want to mention that we're deciding to discuss this because of one of our fans or our commenters on our video. We want to thank you for that and encourage that. So just want to let y'all know that anything you suggest, we're going to try our best to get to it. As far as comics, I think I would begin with definitely recommending one of my favorite, Planet Hulk, and
Mm,
leading into World War Hulk. And before
okay.
that, here's the thing: I never read a Hulk comic before those two, and I don't
Yeah.
think you have to. Okay,
Nah.
okay. There's not much history or lore, mythology there. It's Hulk is who he is. He does what he does. But Planet Hulk, it takes you on this unexpected journey of Hulk falling in love, Hulk, you know, becoming more than just this selfish brute fighting for uh, these people who are getting crushed mercilessly and becoming this great leader, and then it turns into World War Hulk, which is just pure vengeance and destruction, and it's the Hulk that you want, and he's just unleashed on heroes and villains alike. I love both stories. They go hand in hand together.
Can you buy that in a trade paperback? So by trade paperback, we mean a collected volume. All these issues are in one book for your
You
reading.
do have the volume for Planet Hulk, you got the volume for World War Hulk, and there's even the prelude to Planet Hulk, which I don't think is necessary. It's just Marvel just trying to get another
Yeah.
penny out of you.
Yeah,
But
so you need to be careful with that kind of stuff. I'm glad you brought that up because Marvel, I'm not sure how DC really will do these things, but Marvel will they'll have the event, right? And it'll span multiple titles, all this stuff, and then they'll start coming out with the follow-ons and the tie-ins and the preludes and the prologues and it's like golly, they milk it for every last cent. They will do that, so just be careful. I would start with, a classic, The Killing Joke.
hmm,
A completely self-contained story. You don't need to know everyone. It's characters you know. Everyone knows Batman. Everyone knows the Joker. All right, and that's all it focuses. And Commissioner Gordon. Um, it's one of the rare self-contained stories that actually kind of played into the main Batman storyline, right? With Barbara Gordon's injury, and and even the Dark Knight, the movie The Dark Knight from 2008, kind of taking some elements of that Joker and putting it into the movie with him always changing his origin story, kind of remembers things the way he wants to, that sort of stuff, right? So, um, if I had to pick another one, so that's The Killing Joke. If I had to pick another issue, personal favorite of mine, um, is Days of Future Past. It's
Right.
only a two-issue arc, but this was Marvel's attempt, successful attempt at introducing alternate futures into the X-Men world, and it was incredible. I mean, think about it for a second. A two-issue story got turned into a feature film 30
Right.
years later.
Right.
So it's pretty good.
It's one of
Um,
the most iconic X-Men stories, I think.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely without a doubt. So that's Uncanny X-Men 141 and 142. Um, you should be able to find those, and it shouldn't cost you that much to buy the volume or the trade paperback of that. You can find that pretty easy.
I'm
Um,
surprised you didn't say Infinity Gauntlet.
yeah, I mean Infinity Gauntlet. I That's another one because there was a lot of lead up, right? There's a lot of characters in there, so if you're intimidated by um, when you're getting into a comic book and know, well, what's his backstory? What's her
Yeah.
backstory? There,
Yeah.
oh, Thanos. Who is this Thanos guy? Who's
Yeah.
this devil-looking guy? Right? So that one could be intimidating. I mean, the
But
fantastic.
it's a great story, but like
Yes.
you said, it can be so then what should someone necessarily refer to before they tackle Infinity Gauntlet if they don't want to be completely clueless about who everyone is,
I mean, you need to. That's
or is
hard because
that's
it focuses on a lot of the cosmic beings, right? And they
right.
don't appear as much. So I know there was some lead up stuff into Silver Surfer. I mean, you'd have to get familiar with Silver Surfer and Galactus and just countless other cosmic entities to understand why they do what they do throughout the story. Adam Warlock and Thanos. Probably not the best book to just kind of whet your appetite with. I mean, again, another kind of there's a whole bunch of self-contained stories. Like I'm going to jump back to DC. The Long Halloween.
Uh,
Um, those books by Jeff Loeb were amazing. The Long Halloween. Let's see, I got them up there. I can't believe. Dark Victory. Um, just incredible stories, self-contained stories again. Um, Pretty interesting. The artwork is fantastic. Just great all around. Now, for someone wanting to jump into these modern comics, fortunately, Marvel and DC have both been guilty of this in the last couple years with rebooting everything, rebooting. So DC technically kind of did with this DC Rebirth. I mean, it's probably only been around for a year, right? So you could go back and buy the individual issues if you want, or just buy the volume, save yourself some money. Um, and Marvel is the same way. Marvel reboots so often it's not even funny. Um, so you can, if you want to pick up an issue number one of something like we talked about a few videos ago with Infamous Iron Man,
yeah.
um, 6 issues, real quick read, down and dirty. There's no need to try to get a background. Each issue starts you off telling you what has led up to this, what's going on, so you already have a good understanding of what it is that is going on in this world.
We were talking about this earlier with that some of the more interesting stories that Marvel has going on are actually centered around the villains and their character gallery, like Thanos. I'm a huge fan of the Thanos comic, and all you really need to know about Thanos is that he's a badass, and he's one of the most feared villains in not just Earth, but in the galaxy and the cosmos. A lot of his backstory is revealed in his comic, so it's not necessary to go back all the way to his first appearances and all that. They give a very retrospective look at him, which fills in any missing knowledge you might have. Black Panther, I'm a fan of that. the new Black Panther that's been going on. But that one, if you're looking for the Black Panther from the movie that's all action and violence and just cool martial arts and cool fighting, that's not what this new series is completely about. Sure, that's in there, but what I enjoy from it is like just the politics, the drama between him being almost a reluctant leader and his people, his own people, rebelling against this notion of this autocratic figure of the Black Panther. Why should they follow the Black Panther, especially after having been, almost decimated by Doom and Namor? Wakanda has gone through so much destruction lately, so people have lost their faith in Black Panther, and it's interesting to see how he overcomes that. Because he can't win the people over by beating them all up, so he has to try a different tactic. What have you read that's just garbage that you can just tell that they mailed it in?
Secret War.
Oh, really?
I felt it started off really good.
Mm-hmm.
I and then you could see, because originally I think the issue, it was supposed to be what, 6 issues long or something, 7 issues, and then all of a sudden it got bumped up to 8, and then it was delayed. And they went ahead and started with the new Marvel Now, even though the Secret Wars hadn't ended yet, so they had spoiled the. I mean, so Marvel, it just kind of, I don't know. It just, to me, it was just kind of underwhelming. It was cool to see all of these different alternate realities coming together and everything. Brought back some memories again. The X-Men '92 and
Yeah, that was cool.
the Secret Wars from the '80s. The battle world or whatever it was, right? Thanos coming back, Apocalypse is back, and Sinister. Just all these characters. It was neat to see them again. Now, on the flip side of that, what kind of spawned out of that and is freaking amazing is Old Man Logan.
Right.
So
Another good one to follow.
if you're keeping count here, so Old Man Logan, highly recommend. Probably, I would say the number one recommendation. Old Man Logan for sure.
You know what story arc I didn't like was Secret Invasion.
See, I heard it was, yeah, that was another one I didn't get into, but I heard it was just bleh. It was just underwhelming.
Yeah, they had all this build up, and
Sounded really cool.
they repeated themselves with X-Men versus the Inhumans. So I would stay away from that one. All this build up, and the cover art is so misleading. And that's what I hate about it, because you see the X-Men and the Humans, and they're all facing off and looking like they're rumbling and battling, and then when you get to the heart and meat of the comic, it's the panels are like them just about to fight, and then they move to someone else just about to fight, or someone else about to shoot their power, or someone else is already defeated, and I'm like, where's the actual action? There's nothing happening. And then the way it ended was just terrible, just huge letdown.
When you get these books, you're going to want to take care of them, okay? You're not going to want to just throw them in a shoebox and forget about them, right? So, for those of you that are, again, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, okay? But I have a book here, all right? And this is what they call a bag and a board, okay? So you have your bag and a board to help support the book itself, all right? So you're going to want to invest in some of those, okay? It just helps with the storage. You don't want to tear up your comics. You don't want them to be bent up and all that kind. Unless you do, but most most of us, put them in there, seal them however you want to seal them, tape or whatever, and then you can buy storage boxes, long, short boxes, whatever, and put them in there. Yep. Yeah, I got some right over here to my left.
So when I wanted to hang some of my more favorite comics on the wall, as kind of like artwork and decoration, you told me to be cautious about that. You remember?
So yeah, with anything, sunlight is sunlight can damage anything, right? So anytime, if you want to hang stuff, if you want to display, if you buy a really, I don't know how many can see my shelf behind me here, but I have a couple comics posted up there. Um, you want to try to take care of these things, right? If you have your friends over and hey, look, I just bought this really expensive book or whatever. This cover is cool, right? You want to keep stuff away from the sun because the sunlight will damage the paper. It'll fade the images. So that's one thing. Another thing, what you can do now, this is for more of if you're looking not only just to get into the hobby, but getting into collecting, and if you're into investing in some of these books, right? So there's a company called CGC, and you can buy what they call graded issues. And what that means is, if you can see over my right shoulder here, they put them in these nice slabs. They're compressed together, and it's great for displaying. And it also means that someone has taken the time, has gone through from cover to cover, checked the pages, checked everything, inspected it, and had given it a grade out of 10. So you know that there's no, you know what's wrong with it. All right. So that's something you might need to do a little. That's just kind of a down and dirty. But if you're just looking to get into the hobby because you're interested in these characters, nothing more. At the very least, get bags and boards. That way you can store them nice and neat. You don't have to worry about the spine on the book rolling or the corners getting all damaged, all that kind of stuff like that. I could go on talking about the collecting part of it for forever, but
really, what else is there to say?
Well,
you bag them, you board them.
Well, you bag them, board them, but are you investing? What do you want to invest in? A lot of people do first appearances. That's a big one. That's probably the biggest one. First appearance of Harley Quinn.
When was that?
She was created for the animated series.
I love that cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to come on Sunday nights, like prime time.
Yeah, I remember. That was the original. Like, I remember rushing home from school to catch Batman the Animated Series because it was that good. Because I thought I was watching something that I may not have supposed to, because it wasn't like a it wasn't geared towards children, not all of it.
Yeah,
but I would say 92, 93, because they made a comic book version of the show, and that's when she debuted. That issue is worth a fortune,
really,
when you consider the fact that it's a comic book. Yeah. First appearances, though, are tough, especially now with all the characters showing up in movies. So that kind of spikes the prices of some of these characters' first appearances, down to even some of the most minor characters. So, like Gambit, for example, his first appearance in Uncanny XMen, what is it, 266, I believe, that's typically a $50 to $100 book, at auction. Yeah, at auction.
Was he created for the cartoon?
No.
Really?
He came out probably a year or two before the cartoon. Currently putting together a run of the original volume of Uncanny XMen. So that's kind of hard to come by. So eBay is my friend. Unfortunately. So YouTube is another great resource. Again, thank you for your comment and your curiosity. But definitely check out YouTube. There's tons of comic book channels on YouTube. Very knowledgeable people. All right. So you have the whole internet as a resource, but we definitely appreciate you coming to us for sure. It was cool to see Wolverine. He getting real emotional about it, and it's the difference of leadership between he and Cyclops. Cyclops was trying to be a bit more tactical. You know, hey, we got to retreat here. We're getting our asses handed to us. And Wolverine, the soldier, you know, no, let's fight to the end. You know, of course, he could do that because he can heal himself, right? So he's wanting to fight, and you know, so that was pretty cool, man. That first season of X-Men was awesome.
It was. So did they have the Hellfire Club in the first season?
No, that was the second year. The first season had the Days of the Future Past. That's when they changed it to add Bishop.
Traitor!
Yeah.
Your future ends.
Don't on me. But
Die, traitor!
your future. The future. Bishop.